Codemaster Jamal, and I'm an indie game developer. I'm best known for my project Dragon Ball Z Ultimate End, as well as my 3D MMO monster collecting game Virtual Monsters. I'm currently working on a CCG, which usually means collectible card game, but in this case I'm referring it to a computer card game, which is going to be the computerized version of my TCG, which is a trading card game called Tales of Amedaria. Today is going to be a introductory video to people that are new to Tales of Amedaria. Currently, you can find Tales of Amedaria first booster pack for sale on the Game Crafter. I'm currently waiting for some new prototypes to come in for the booster packs. I updated the booster packs, the images of it, the design of the foil booster pack. Waiting on some new prototypes to come in for the starter armies for Tales of Amedaria. And when those armies come out, I'll be putting them up for sale on the Game Crafter as well. For people that want more organized, more structured play for the game versus buying the booster pack, it's a bit random, but I will say so, if you buy about 4 to 5 booster packs, you'll be able to create like a decent deck for the game. It's not that bad considering you only need 40 cards to actually play the game, so it's not that bad. It gives you a decent amount of cards to play with. It won't be too great competitively, but truth be told, I've been testing this game at card shops. I played with my friend. He lives not too far from here. He lives within the state of North Carolina. Currently I'm in the state of South Carolina. I'm actually on the border of North and South. Basically, I've been testing it at a lot of different card shops and a lot of different places. The game is pretty well balanced. There's probably like a few places where you can exploit certain things, but I'm waiting to see what happens competitively. There won't be like an official ban list or a rewriting to the rules. There are some certain cards that I kind of want to work on and reprint, and that's what's taking me so long to do those type of things. I'm still sort of testing out the game, but the game is definitely still good enough to play. If you feel like supporting the channel or you feel like helping out, if you want to see certain projects I've been working on in advance, the best thing you could ever do for me is actually sign up for my website. It's completely free to sign up for the website. I make some income off of advertisements that the website runs, so the best thing you can do is actually sign up for the website and just start posting on the website. I've heard that some people have had some issues signing up. If you do have issues signing up, you'll find a link within the description to message us in Discord. I'll be eager to help you out and assist you. Today, on the other hand, we're going to talk about the rules for the card game. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to play Tales of Amedaria TCG, and this is just a rough tutorial on how to play the game, the different types of cards within the game, and essentially how you can formulate different strategies in order to make your army better or stronger. It's a very fun game. There's probably some tinkering with things. Definitely have the right amount of life for the game. As someone who I wouldn't say I invented the 5-turn kill in card games, but when it comes to card games in general, from playing online, people go to tournaments and it messes with a lot of things. You probably heard of the Disaster Dragon deck build within Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Black Red Vampires within Magic the Gathering, and that's what I kind of consciously and unconsciously familiarized within like the card playing community. I kind of wish I didn't do that to a certain degree, but that's what happens when you're always itching to win really bad. So I made a card game that's competitive. You can still kind of do the 5-turn kill, but you have to be really good at it. The game is meant to last a while. It's not meant to be over so quick. It's meant to have strategy. The entire game isn't centered around like one aspect of winning. The game is, you're meant to have fun with the game. It's really competitive. It's meant to have fun. If you're new to card games, you might not like it as much, and that's the only thing about it. But in today's video, we're basically going to be talking about the rules for Tales of Amedaria and how to play Tales of Amedaria TCG. Now, within Tales of Amedaria, we have some general knowledge, right? We're going through the rulebook. I'm going to be showing you guys cards, of course. So if there's any cards that I brought up and within this video, you'll get visuals on the screen. There's also an online library for every card within the game. I'll show you guys some screenshots of the game that I'm working on right now for the TCG. It'll be a free to play game. A lot of it is just, the reason why it's taking so long is because there's so many cards, and then I have to play test every card in the game before I can go out and distribute the game to people. So that's one thing. I'm just making sure the game runs very well before I do anything. It's best, I'm learning from releasing Dragon Ball Z Ultimate End, it's best not to rush releasing games. Take your time on your games. Make sure you play test it before getting out to people, because now I'm coming across like a whole new array of basically errors within the game. So that's not good, especially because I want to release games for profit. Real reason why I didn't release that game for profit because A, I didn't make the sprites for the game, B, I didn't make the music or the sound effects for the game, and that was just to showcase my skills as a game developer, to show people that I can actually make games. But that's not important. What's really important is that you can make games and make them properly and make successful games, make good games, make fun games, and that's the real important part. They still had fun with it. It's just not a very professional thing. But once again, I'm an indie game developer. I'm not a professional game developer. I'm an indie game developer. I do everything by myself. I would like to have a team of people to help me develop things, but you would have to sign an NDA before I do anything. And I'll talk about this in another video as to why I haven't finished Virtual Monsters yet. But you'll figure out, like, the game itself is actually pretty fun to play, and that's why I want to make a CCG to get more people on board with the Tales of Amedaria community. You see this, it's actually pretty fun to play. So generally speaking, in Tales of Amedaria, it's a collectible card game in which two players summon characters from the world of Amedaria. Some of these characters can be from future timelines, while other characters can be from alternate futures. Players take the role of a conqueror who builds and manages a powerful army. This army will determine the fate of Amedaria. The overall objective with winning a game of Tales of Amedaria is that you have 3 different win conditions. The first win condition is that you reduce the opposing player's life to 0. The second win condition is that you collect 10 conquest points by controlling the neutral zone. And the third objective, or at least the third condition in winning, is that you can effect summon or summon a character that has a game-winning card effect. Generally speaking, you don't lose a game when you run out of cards. And that's the point. When you run out of cards, you actually lose 1 life every time you can't draw a card. So that's the only rule to it. What you need to play. To play this game, you won't need much. The first thing that you will need is to build a deck of 40 to 60 cards. The second thing you need is to find a friend who is interested in playing the game and have them construct a deck of their own. And the third thing you need to do is to learn the rules. Outside of that, control the neutral zone. Just so we have some general knowledge for the world of Amedaria. In the world of Amedaria, there are 5 factions, and I'm going to show you guys all 5 of the factions right here. The first faction is Valcania, which is determined by the red card. The second faction will be your Gala, which is determined by the blue card. The third faction will be Phantom, which is determined by the green card. And the fourth faction will be Jamal, which is determined by the yellowish black card. And the fifth faction will be Myria, which is determined by the pink card. You can build your army however you want. You can have any kind of characters you want. You can have any type of factions. You can have multiple factions. It doesn't have to be one faction. It isn't Magic the Gathering where you have to pay for cards. The rules for the game are more like Yu-Gi-Oh! Than it is Magic the Gathering. I just took and borrowed a few concepts from Magic the Gathering and kind of crossbred into one game. And generally speaking, there are 2 types of cards within the game. The first type of card will be character cards, which you can summon into play. Those are the main components of your army. And then the second type of cards will be support cards, which basically you can use to boost or defend, and they do exactly that. They support your characters. That's what support cards do. The official rulebook is online, so it goes into more depth of the rules for the game, and it basically finalizes a lot of things for you. The concepts are a little hard to explain over the video, but if you want to get more in-depth knowledge, we do have an official rulebook. It's online. You can read it for yourself. I provide a link to the rulebook in the description below. And in terms of building your deck, I just wanted to tell you that you can keep up to 3 copies of a card within your deck. I have 2 copies of this card here called Pitfall, which is a trigger support card. We'll go more into the types of support cards later in the video. You can keep up to 3 copies of a card in your deck, and that's the only rule for it. Currently, there isn't a ban list, so there aren't any cards that are banned, and I'm working really hard with making sure that no card is overpowered or broken within the game. I'm making sure there's a few checks and balances so that even though there isn't a system where you can pay for the price of cards in order to activate their abilities or effects. For example, we have a card here called Cool Refreshment. Basically, you can only play this card during your first main phase, and you can only activate this card once per turn. It basically allows you to draw an additional 2 cards from your army pile, and that's basically, it's a very powerful effect, but it's just a way of balancing cards so that way you can't spam things a bunch of times within a single turn. It makes things a little bit more balanced. But even with these checks or balances, and for example, there's another general rule when it comes to effects within the game is that once something is banished within the game, it cannot come back. There aren't any effects that can take a banished card and bring it back into the game. So essentially, banishing is the highest level of destruction you can come across within a game, or the greatest way you can do something in a game. If something is destroyed within the game, it goes to the discard pile. It could possibly come back into the game, but once something is banished, it cannot come back into the game. So that's a general rule when it comes to card effects within a game. I haven't listed that within the rulebook. You won't find that in the rulebook, but generally speaking, you won't find any cards that can do that type of thing, that can take cards that are banished and bring them back into the game. So once a card is banished, it can't come back into the game. So that's the general rule for that. There's 5 different types of characters within the game. The first type of character are basic characters. Once per turn, you can do 1 normal summon, or you can do a tribute summon. Once again, it's very similar to Yu-Gi-Oh! Sorry about that, Konami. Basic characters you can play for free once per turn. If you don't normal summon, you can have the option of doing a tribute summon. There's basic characters, advanced characters, champion characters, special characters, and then token characters. Basic characters are pretty much the lowest rank of character you can have. Advanced rank characters are somewhere within the middle. Champion rank characters are pretty much one of the highest rank characters you can have. And special characters are characters that you keep within your extra pile. I believe you can have 20 cards within your extra pile. I may have changed it. I may be 25. So once again, check the rulebook. I haven't memorized everything myself when it comes to the game. But I believe it's 20 cards for now. But I was thinking about changing it to 25. The rules are still kind of fresh. So you keep special characters and token characters within your extra pile. And typically speaking, if you look at this special character, not all special characters are like this, but it has something called transform. That means that a character such as the character that it lists, in this case, it lists Kenkoden, which is an advanced rate character, can actually transform into this character. Typically, you need some type of card effect to do that type of thing, which is something called a transform summon. If it does have a transform, it most likely has an ability that explains like how to bring this card out. But not all special characters are like this, where they can transform into that character. Some special characters requires an effect summon, which is our version of the special summon. So you can effect summon as many times as you want within a game. So I'm going to get back into normal summoning in a little bit, but I just wanted to point that out before I do anything else. So in Kenkoden the Fox's case, if Kenkoden is destroyed by battle or card effect, you may effect summon this character from your extra pile. If this character is in your extra pile and for some reason Kenkoden happens to be destroyed, you can basically bring this card out onto the field. So that's something to look out for. And then token characters are kind of the same thing. You can only bring them out using special effects. And that's what support cards are for, typically. There aren't any character effects that allow you to do that type of thing. I'm making that specifically a support card type of thing. So that's just something to look out for. So in order to tribute summon, the way how tribute summoning works is that in order to bring out an advanced rate character, you need 1 basic character, but you can't normal summon and then tribute summon the same turn. Essentially, like you can tribute summon is still considered a normal summon, so you can only normal summon once per turn. You bring out a basic character, and if it happens to survive till the next turn, you can tribute summon the next turn. There's also another form of summoning, but we'll talk about it later on in the video. You need 1 tribute for an advanced rate character, and you need 2 tributes for a champion character. Typically, special rank characters and token characters. The thing about token characters is that they're sort of similar to basic characters. Typically, they aren't that strong or powerful. It's just that they happen to have unique effects that allows you to have an edge within the game. You can do this multiple times within a turn. You can effect summon as many times as you want within a turn. So for example, this Cyber Ninja has the ability Blocker, which is an exhaust ability. We'll get into exhausting later within the video. Essentially, exhausting allows you to pay for an effect. A character can exhaust a turn after it was summoned. You summon the character that turn. The following turn after, which is your opponent's turn, you can exhaust. You can activate his exhaust ability anytime during their turn. That's just something you can do within another player's turn, essentially. A basic character has the exact same value as a token character, even though there are token characters that can be a lot stronger. They're the exact same count when it comes to tributes, essentially. An advanced rate character counts as 2 tributes. You can bring out this boxing brawler with just by tributing this Ezra Buster Ford, or you can bring out this boxing brawler by tributing both Aeromancer and Cyber Ninja. So that's how that type of thing works. And as for a special rank character, it counts as 3 tributes, even though there isn't anything that requires 3 tributes within a game. And so does a champion character, it counts as 3 tributes. So that's what they have in common. And that doesn't make sense now, but later on in the video, when we get to the game zones and conquest points, as I spoke before, one way to actually win the game is by getting a certain amount of conquest points. You need 10 conquest points within the game. That might change to 15 conquest points depending on how things go within the testing, but I don't see how things are going to change right now, because the way I've been testing things is going pretty smooth. Like, it's actually pretty good with 10 conquest points. and it's good with 70 life, and it's good with 20 cards within an extra pile. Currently, decks aren't too advanced, and that's why I kind of want to do the CCG to see how good or bad some people do. And that's all it is. I just want to see what type of decks people build before I release the next set. It's really hard doing things by yourself, like making a card game and keeping it alive is really hard to do. But, you know, things happen. So that's what they care about. Now, the next type of cards, within the game, there's basically two different types of cards. There's character cards, which you can attack and deal damage with. They have effects themselves. And then there's support cards, which are straight up card effects, and that's basically the whole deal behind it, is that it allows you to boost up your character in the middle of battle. So in terms of support cards, there's 5 different types of support cards. There's the normal support card, which allows you to play typically within your main phase of your turn. And then there's the constant support cards. Now with normal support cards, once you play it, it leaves the field, it goes into a discard pile. Typically, unless it has an effect that says otherwise, it does not stay on the field, and its effects don't continue once it's off the field. And then there's constant support cards, which basically stay on the field as long as it's activated. It can only be removed by card effect, essentially. And we get more into summoning later in the game, especially when we come across the game zones. It's a lot of stuff they deal with within one video. And I have a short amount of time to actually do this video, so I'm gonna make sure I take my time with this. So in the case of this constant support card, it has actually an exhaust ability, which allows it to exhaust. And the thing about exhaust abilities is that it applies to any card that has an exhaust. You can't activate it the turn that it's played. You can only activate it the turn afterwards. Yes, it's a constant support card. It stays on the field. Not all constant support cards are like this. On top of that, there's other examples. In this card's case, you can't activate its ability until the previous turn. That's just a way of paying for cards. The next card after that will be armament support cards, which basically boosts your character's power. It's pretty simple. This card stays on the field until a character is destroyed. When a character is destroyed, so is an armament, unless stated otherwise. Some armaments have special abilities that allow it to destroy itself instead of the character in order to keep the character alive. And in some cases, some support cards have the ability to move to your recycle pile. As I spoke before, that when you run out of cards, basically you don't lose the game. You can continue playing the game even though you ran out of cards. But when you run out of cards, you have something called a recycle pile. You can basically pick up all the cards within your recycle pile and then form a new army, essentially, in order to continue playing the game. So when you run out of cards, that's what happens. If you have no cards to draw, you lose 1 life for every turn you don't have any cards to draw. It's really confusing because there's a lot of rules. It's not Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not Magic the Gathering. Take your time with it. That's why I'm working on a CCG, so that way people get a better feel for it. It's actually pretty fun once you figure it out. I play with more experienced players, card game players, and they actually have a fun time with it. The next type of support card will be quick support, which is you can play it anytime during your turn or your opponent's turn. Majority of the time. There are some cases where a quick support card might restrict that type of ability, but generally speaking, it's sort of like a quick play magic card or a quick play spell card from Yu-Gi-Oh! And then we have trigger support. Now the thing about support cards, which is why I'm going to get into the game field soon. Let's go take a look at this. Anything I show in this video, I'm going to make sure I showcase it on the screen so you guys understand a bit more what it's about. This is a playing field, essentially. Within this playing field, we have the army pile, which is where you place your army. You have the extra pile, which is where you place your extra army. We're going to call it that for now. And then you have the support zone, the front lines, and the neutral zone, which is this yellow area. The neutral zone is an area that you share with your opponent, so your opponent can also place characters within the neutral zone as well. So it's something to look out for. When it comes to summoning characters, you cannot summon characters into the neutral zone. You can only move characters into neutral zone unless it's a transform summon or an evolution summon, which is something I'll get into later on in the video. The next thing is that when you actually summon a character, for example, when you normal summon, I can place this basic character either in the front lines or the support zone. You can keep up to 5 cards within the front lines or the support zone and 5 cards within the neutral zone. If you have no spaces within your support zone, you cannot activate support cards. That is a general rule when it comes to support cards. Now, we're going to go into the last type of support card, which is trigger support. Typically, something has to happen in order for you to trigger this type of support card. If you don't have any room within your support zone, you cannot activate trigger support cards. In this case, you may activate this card when your opponent normal summons a character, negate the summon of the character. If you have no room within your support zone, you cannot activate this card. But trigger cards are actually cards that you can activate from your hand. Unlike Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you had to lay it face down first and then wait until your opponent attacked, this card you can keep within your hand and just say simply put, play it when something triggers the effect. It's up to your choice how you decide to play your game or play your deck, but everything's up to you essentially. And then finally, one last thing we're going to point out, the discard pile is when you're done using a card, when a character is destroyed, it goes to the discard pile. And when you're done using support cards, it goes to the discard pile. Now, the banish zone is someplace off the board. Once a card is banished, it cannot come back into the game. That's the general rule for that. Therefore, making banishing effects the highest value of basically effects that you can have within the game. Like once a card is banished, it's not coming back. That's a general rule for that. And then you have the recycle pile. As I put it before, let's give an example of an evolution summon. Now, this example is also within the rulebook. You'll be able to see on the card. I know the text is a little hard to read because it's really small. I'm sorry about that. But basically, this is a basic character, but it's also a samurai and an automaton. Samurai is a type of class that we have within Tales of Amedaria, and automaton is a species. Generally speaking, when it comes to evolution summons, this card's called Steam Cutter. This card's called Akio Jetblade. The same example is within the rulebook. Generally speaking, when it comes to evolution summon, you can also evolution summon the turn that you normal summon. So for example, if I normal summon this Steam Cutter, I can also evolve it into Akio Jetblade. And the reason for that is because this is an advanced rank character. Advanced is a higher rank than basic. It's actually the next rank, next to basic. And it's also the same class and species. Evolution summon as many times as possible, but when you evolution summon, what happens is that this character actually takes the place of wherever this card is on the field. So if it's in the neutral zone, it takes its spot. This character goes to the recycle pile when you evolution summon. Same thing goes for transform summon. It takes a spot essentially. Evolution summon is its own thing. Transform summons are technically counted as an effect summon, but evolution summon is not counted as an effect summon. It's actually counted as its own thing. So that's something to look out for. These are two different factions of characters. Factions don't play that much of a role within the game. It does to a certain degree. It determines like what type of characters they are, what type of effects they have. And there are certain effects that give you a benefit from using multiple armies. There's some effects that give you a benefit for using only one type of faction. You know, that's something to look out for essentially. And that's just one of the many different ways of summoning within a game. Once again, look at the rulebook. You'll get more in-depth information about things. So once again, this card would go to the recycle pile. When you run out of cards to draw, you can pick up the recycle pile, shuffle it, and that becomes your new army pile. So that's a general rule when it comes to recycling within game. There are certain card effects that allow us to recycle within the game, so that's something to look out for. Look at the rulebook because it gives you a more in-depth breakdown of things within the game. This is just going to give you a general look through and idea of the game essentially. When attacking, double this character's offensive power. Okay, so let's look at this thing right here. The number on the, I'm going to say left side. The number on the left side, this number here, it will be its offensive power, and this number here will be its resistance power. The difference between this game and Magic the Gathering is that there's something called effect damage. A lot of that ties within not just card effects, but also exhaust abilities. When a character is active, it relies on its offensive power. When it's exhausted, it relies on its resistance power. For example, this character's resistance power is 5. If this character takes 5 effect damage within a single turn, it's destroyed. But that's just effect damage. If it gets attacked by another character, if its resistance power is higher than that character's offensive power, then this character is still on the field and the opposing player actually takes damage to their life. Combat works a little bit different within a game. Within the rulebook, it goes into more detail. I'm running out of time essentially that I have to record this video, so that's the only reason why I'm kind of speeding through things. There's different classes of characters within the game. This character here is called a Kitsune Hound. This character is called a mount. When it comes to mount characters, you can sort of play it as a support card. You can basically play it from your hand and attach it to a character on the field. And basically when you do that, that character gains its offensive and resistance power. But there's a new class I want to come out with within another set. I won't talk too much about it, but it actually like works really well with mounts. I'm just not going to talk too much about it. In that case, this card sort of works as an armament. When that character is destroyed, so is this character. But the thing about it is that once this mount is attached to another character, you cannot attach and detach it the turn that is played. So for example, I could summon this as a normal character. I can't summon it and then attach it to a character that same turn. Or I can't attach this mount and then detach it within the same turn. But the general rule for this is that mounts have to remain within the support zone and they can't move if they are attached to another character. So that's just one way of playing a character as a support card. So even if the character moves into the neutral zone, it's still attached to this mount. But just like armament cards, there's certain effects where they say destroy this mount instead of destroying the character and that type of thing. So generally speaking, that's just a general rule. Okay, so next we're going to go through the turn phase. The way how your turn should go is that once you and your opponent have decided who goes first, you can play rock, paper, scissors, roll a dice. It doesn't really matter. The way how the turn phase goes is that there's a draw phase, a standby phase, a main phase, battle phase, second main phase, and end phase. It's kind of general speaking. It's nothing too special. The draw phase is pretty simple. You start your turn, you draw a card. There's some additional effects that might go. If they do, apply it. If they don't apply it. Typically within the standby phase, if you have characters on the field, unless stated otherwise, you remove one counter off of them. For example, if it's like a burn counter, within the rulebook it goes more into detail about it. Both players start with 70 life and you start off with 0 conquest points. The goal of the game is to either reduce your opponent's life to 0 or gain 10 conquest points, and that's essentially how you win the game. The turn structure goes pretty much like this: is draw phase, draw one card; standby phase, you unexhaust characters, remove counters, and or activate effects. During the main phase, you can play characters from your hand, which means that you can normal summon. You can also evolution summon. Technically, there are some effects that allow you to effect summon during your opponent's turn, but generally speaking, you can't summon during your opponent's turn unless stated otherwise. This also applies to transform summon, which is why it's called an effect summon in general. The point of effect summoning is that you basically summon a character using a card effect, and that's generally speaking the rule for that. So during your main phase, you can play characters and activate support cards. During your battle phase, you can either move your characters or attack with a character. Unless stated otherwise, you cannot move and attack with a character at the same time. A character can either move or attack. But there are certain abilities that allow you to either move twice or attack twice within a turn. And then you have the second main phase, or main phase 2, which is basically an additional turn. If you didn't normal summon that turn, then basically you can still normal summon. Otherwise, you have to pass your turn. It goes on to the end phase. Basically, you're no longer the active player. You're the active player when it's your turn. You become the inactive player. If you have trigger or support cards, you can still activate that during your opposing player's turn. You can also activate exhaust abilities in your opposing player's turn. Generally speaking, that's about it. There isn't anything more than that. We talk about exhaust abilities, which we're going to look at our Cyber Ninja again. This is an example of an exhaust ability. It's called Blocker, which allows you to block a character. Blocking works a little bit different in this game. Not every character can block, only certain characters can block. If your opponent targets a character in the same zone or a zone behind this character for an attack, you may switch the targets to this character, and that's just how it works. Basically, it exhausts in order to use that ability, and then this becomes the target for the new attack. It can stop the attack, or generally speaking, there's also a role within the game. You cannot attack characters within the support zone. There's certain exhaust abilities that allow you to target characters within the support zone, and there's certain exhaust abilities that do not. If the opposing player has no characters within his front lines, it doesn't matter if they have characters within the neutral zone, but if you have no characters within the front lines, you can attack them directly. So that's also something to look out for. So once again, you can also attack and move the turn a character is summoned. So there isn't summoning sickness in the game where you have to wait one turn in order to attack or move. So your first turn, if you're going first within the game, you can't attack your first turn. But generally speaking, you can attack the turn a character is summoned. The only thing you can't do is activate an exhaust ability the turn that a character is summoned. So there's more things within the rules, such as treatment. For example, this concordant, it says that this card is treated as a Grey Wolf character. So even though it doesn't have Grey Wolf within its name, it's still considered to be a Grey Wolf. There's cards like that, and then I'm going to show another example. Just give me We're going to take a look at Einar, which basically says that this card is treated as a Republic Army character, which means that it can be targeted for effects that target Republic Army characters. But this character, it also has two-handed, which basically says that this character is treated as a two-handed, which means that it can do the exhaust ability two-handed. We have this character Republic Knight, which basically has an ability called two-handed. So when it exhausts, deal this character's offensive power as effect damage to all characters on the opposing player's front lines. I told you how effect damage works. Basically, you're dealing damage to their resistance power. If it's enough effect damage to knock it out, it's destroyed. And that's how that type of thing works. When a character attacks, you exhaust, which stops it from using its exhaust ability. So that's the only weakness to characters in general, is that when you do attack, it gains a weakness to a certain degree, because it's no longer relying on its offensive power, it's relying on its resistance power. So if it does have a high offensive power, it kind of becomes useless once it attacks. That's just another strategy when it comes to the game. I think I covered majority of what's within the rulebook. Generally speaking, I covered pretty much everything that's within the rulebook. You can read the rulebook for more in-depth details when it comes to how to play the game. This is why I'm also coming up with the CCG. When I played against a newbie, it was a little, it was a little hard for him, but he was new to card games in general. Versus when I played against someone who's more experienced when it comes to card games, it went by pretty quick. We played like 3 games. It's pretty fun. A lot of it has to do with the factions. Every faction sort of has like a theme. Once again, if you like the game and you feel like supporting it, it's always free to sign up for the website, post on the forums, leave articles, talk to us on Discord. That's the best way to help us out. If I had more income coming in for the company, I'll be able to push out things more. And that's why I'm making the CCG a free game in general. There's also going to be like sort of a story mode for the game, which I'm not going to showcase just yet. But that's why I'm releasing it for free, so more people can get into the game and hopefully more people will sign up for the website. And generally speaking, it'll create more income for the company, and that's everything. I run everything by myself. As an indie game developer, it's a little hard for me to find a job, and what I was doing to support the company, I can't do it as much anymore. So it's really hard for me. It's really hard. And let's just say, generally speaking, I've done some things that I'm not entirely too proud of. I've done some things I sort of regret. I just don't like talking about it, but eventually we will talk about it. We'll talk about it in a later video. And that's about it. The game itself is actually kind of fun, but that's why I want to create a simulator so you understand it a bit more. I'm gonna say it requires a lot of strategy, but some players are more strategic than others. If you have enough basic characters to draw into, the game runs by pretty smooth, but you don't want it to where basic characters are the only thing you draw into, and your army can't run well without basic characters. So that's the only downfall to it. Without basic characters, it doesn't run too well. We also have merchandise if you guys feel like supporting the game a little bit further. I am working on a Patreon. I've decided not to go with Ko-Fi or Ko-Fi, not sure how to pronounce that. If you like watching this video, please make sure to like and subscribe for more Virtual Monsters content, for more Tales of Amedaria content, and generally speaking for more content from Codemaster Jamal. I'm going to be making a couple of different videos for the next couple of days, and hopefully you guys will like how these videos come out. For right now, I have to get to doing some important things. Thank you for people that play Dragon Ball Z Ultimate End. I keep getting messages about Dragon Ball Z Ultimate End every day, and I'm coming across some new issues when it comes to that game. I'm very sorry. I have some funny stories to tell you about it, which is why I'm going to be making some more videos when it comes to Dragon Ball Z Ultimate End. And generally speaking, people have done a lot of things just to stop me from working on my craft, my games. I've lost my job. It's been hard for me to find a job because they don't want me finishing Virtual Monsters, and that's all there really is to it. I would be a full-time game developer if every person that watches this YouTube video goes and signs up for the website and makes one introductory post on that website. If you guys did that, I would have finished Virtual Monsters. I would have finished Virtual Monsters, and I would finish these games. But that's all it is. If you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe for more Codemaster Jamal content. Keep making games. Till next time, this is Codemaster Jamal, and I'm signing out.